Vedyam vastam vatra vastu sivadam tapatrayoन्मूलनम् Srimad Bhagavate Mahamanikrite Kimva Parairishvara Sadyo Hudyavarudhyate Atra Kutribhi Sushrushubhit Takshana. So in this verse we were discussing yesterday that I'll just read the translation. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So we are discussing that completely rejecting all religious dharma. So Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityadya. So give up all dharmas. And here Bhagavatam starts with dharma projita kaita uttara. And then Raghunath Das Goswami also in his Manasiksha, he says na dharmam, nya dharmam. So give up dharma and adharma. Don't do adharma, don't do dharma. And what Bhagavatam is telling is basically this dharma, what is indicated in the Vedic literature is about these four things: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So Bhagavatam is talking about the highest pancham purushartha, not even dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Like when we see Vedanta Sutra starts with the aphorism Atato Brahma Jignasa. We need to inquire about the highest truth, that is Vedanta Sutra. But whereas the Gemini's Karma Mimamsa, it starts with the Sutra Atato Dharma Jignasa. So they are propounders of Dharma. They say Atato Dharma Jignasa. And that starts like that. And but Bhagavatam says no. It is about the Supreme Lord, Brahman. So Atato Brahma Jignasa. So basically the four things, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, that is for the people who want to continue to enjoy in this material world. So this facility is given to them. And at least they should inquire about something higher, otherwise they continue to remain human life. That's what we discussed in the first para. And second para is how the lower stage of human relation, there is always a competition. Because if you want to enjoy in this material world, there is always greed. If a desire to enjoy is there, then there will be greed and pride. Because we see the story of Diti. Diti was lusty and she begotten Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. One is greed, one is pride. And this all comes because there is a greed. So there is always a competition in this material world. But if somebody is aspiring for spirituality, then he'll be free from this greed and then there will be no envy. And now another reason we discussed why people don't go for self-realization, two reasons. One reason is because they don't like the activity which they do. That means their profession, most of them, they don't like what they are acting and all. So when they come back after from the job, they want some relaxation. So that's why they go for entertainment. Because they feel I already stressed out for so many hours. And another reason is what Prabhupada is telling, because man is thriving economically. So generally people do dharma, pious activities for economic development. But people are already thriving economically. So for them, they said, okay, why I need to do dharma? Anyway, I'm enjoying nicely. So they continue to enjoy in that way. So this is the second point we discussed, why people don't go for self-realization. One is they are stressed out. But previously people were doing according to their varna and ashrama. So that's why it was easy for them because they are happy with their activity, not in the result. They can go for higher things. So now Prabhupada is telling men are more interested in factory, shops, cinemas than religious places because now they are economically well off. And then we discuss next para. The Vedas, the above mentioned four activities prescribed in a regulated way. So this is actually what is given in Karma Mimamsa and Purva Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa is a preliminary consideration and Uttara Mimamsa is the highest consideration. So what what Gemini wrote is Purva Mimamsa, what Vyasdev is Brahma Sutras which he has written, that is Uttara Mimamsa, and the commentary for the Brahma Sutras is Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's why this is the highest understanding. And then we discussed that it is very difficult also, especially Bhagavatam, it rejects all these types of worship. They say, no, it is not for dharma, the kam moksha, it is not to enjoy in this material world, but to understand the highest thing. So that's what we discussed yesterday. And then we discussed the story. There is actually fourth canto and sixth canto. Both of them make things very clear. In fourth canto, there is a very clear distinction what is karma mimamsa and what is bhakti. And sixth canto, the fight between mixed devotion and pure devotion. It's like that. So we have Prachini Barshi story and Daksha and Shiva in the fourth canto. And then we have, of course, Ranjana story also in fourth canto. It is mostly of Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. And sixth canto also, it's a difference between pure devotion and mixed devotion. We saw the example of Yamadutas, Vishnudutas. We have example of Daksha, Narada. We have example of the fight between Katrasura and Indra. All is a fight between pure and mixed. So that we have discussed. And then Prabhupada is telling how the impersonal aspect of absolute truth is not the highest, the personal form of the Lord. And then there are three aspects in the Vedic literature: Jnana Kanda, Karma Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is superior to all this because it aims at the supreme truth, which is the substance of or the root of all categories. So from Bhagavatam, one can come to know the substance as well as categories. So, and then we have the next thing. Nothing is apart from substance, but at the same time, the energies are different from the substance. This conception not contradict. Srimad Bhagavatam explicitly promulgates this simultaneous one and different philosophy of Vedanta Sutra, which begins with Janmadhyasya Yatha. So this is Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. So it is different and one with the Lord. So we'll continue our discussion from this paragraph. So the question is, what is the destination of mixed devotee? They continue to remain in this material world. If they don't have a desire for liberation, then it will be like Indra and Daksha. They will be born again and again. Daksha is born again and again as Daksha. Indra is again and again is continuing to remain in this material world enjoying heavenly planets like that. Sorry. So this knowledge that the energy of the Lord is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord is the answer to the this knowledge that the energy of the Lord is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord is an answer to the mental speculators' attempt to establish the energy as the absolute. When this knowledge is factually understood, one sees the conceptions of monism and dualism to be imperfect. Development of this transcendental consciousness, grounded in the conception of simultaneously one and different, leads one immediately to the stage of freedom from the threefold miseries. Threefold miseries are the miseries which arise from the body, mind, and body, the sin inflicted by other living beings, and those miseries arising from natural catastrophes over which One has no control. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the surrender of the devotee onto the absolute person. The devotee is fully aware that he is one with the absolute, and at the same time is at, is in the eternal position of servant to the absolute. In the material conception, one falsely thinks himself the lord of all he survives, and therefore he is always troubled by the threefold miseries of life. But as soon as one comes to know his real position as transcendental servant, he at once becomes free from all miseries. As long as the living entity is trying to master material nature, there is no possibility of his becoming servant of the Supreme. Service to the Lord is rendered in pure consciousness of one's spiritual identity. By service, one is immediately free from material encumbrances. So, first thing is what Prabhupada is telling. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the surrender of a devotee onto the absolute person. It's very important to understand. Of course, the first part of this para is very easily understood, that we are suffering threefold miseries. But the second part, what Krishna Prabhupada is telling, is we start with surrender. And now that is the important step. Arjuna also 2.7, he says, Shishyasteham Swadivam Tvam Prapannam. So Arjuna is also surrendering to Krishna in the first part. And then, of course, he's not completely doing what Krishna says, but at least he attempted to surrender. So similarly, for us also, we need to first theoretically at least surrender. Then, after hearing whole Bhagavad Gita, again Krishna, Arjuna says, okay, Rishya Vachanam Tava. Then he surrenders. So, what was the initial surrender of Arjuna and what is the surrender? And again, Krishna says, now you surrender. Sarva Dharman Paritidya Maam Ekam Sharanavaja. Krishna is telling you surrender. So, there is a difference between the surrender of Krishna in the second chapter, so Arjuna in the second chapter, and there is a difference of his surrender after 18th, in the 18th chapter. What is the difference? Is he gained that knowledge. But initially he surrendered to gain the knowledge also. So similarly, we may not completely know Bhagavatam, but to gain the knowledge of Bhagavatam, we need to initially surrender, accept the authority of the Lord, and then gradually we'll be able to understand Bhagavatam properly. Bhagavatam is not the object of our study. That means study means I am looking it down. No, Bhagavatam is actually mercy. We will understand Bhagavatam by mercy of Bhagavatam only. So every day studying Bhagavatam is an worship of Bhagavatam. We are worshipping Bhagavatam so that Bhagavatam will reveal to us one day. Because this is a very great literature and it is spoken in trance and then understood in trance. That means at the level of samadhi. Parikshit Maharaj was complete samadhi. He was not eating, he was not sleeping, he was not drinking. Completely absorbed in samadhi and he is hearing. And same thing, Sudhir Goswami, not eating, not sleeping, anything, he's completely absorbed in samadhi and he's speaking. So both are at that level of samadhi, they are speaking this. For us to understand, it is not so easy. So we have to have that surrender and proper mood, then there is a chance we'll understand. And another is, we at least theoretically we should know that we are not lords of all the service. Therefore, we always that is the reason we have trouble. But at least theoretically, we should know that our real position is transcendental servant. So this is the point. And then next statement says, over and above this, Srimad Bhagavatam is a personal commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Srila Vyasadeva. It was written in the maturity of his spiritual life through the mercy of Narada. Sri Vyasadeva is the authorized incarnation of Narayana, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, there is no question as to his authority. He is the author of all other Vedic literatures, yet he recommends the study of Srimad Bhagavatam to all others. In other Puranas, there are different methods set forth by which one can worship the demigods. But in the Bhagavatam, only the Supreme Lord is mentioned. The Supreme Lord is the total body and the demigods are the different parts of the body. Consequently, by worshipping the Supreme Lord, one does not need to worship the demigods. The Supreme Lord becomes fixed in the heart of the devotee immediately. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended this the Srimad Bhagavatam as a spotless Purana and distinguishes it from all other Puranas. So this is Amala Puran, and this is also without any spotless. Why spot? Because there is no mixture of any karma, jnana, and yoga, and no worship of any demigods. That means demigod worship basically it is what? It is utilizing them to fulfill our material desires. And it's all selfish. Even dharma artha kam moksha we discussed. Why dharma artha kam moksha is problem? Because it is basically selfishness. It is nothing to do with the Supreme Lord. So it's a selfish motivation. So all these things that are rejected in Srimad Bhagavatam. Whereas in other Puranas, even Satvik Puranas also. So even in the Satvik Puranas also, it is there is some mixture of other things. Yeah, Amala Purana, Mala means dirt, Amala means there is no dirt. It is free from any contamination. Contamination of Dharma Artha Kama Moksha. Even Mahabharata is full of Dharma Artha Kama Moksha. Even the purpose of Mahabharata, what Vyasdev says, is to glorify Krishna. And even Madhvacharya, who wrote commentary on Mahabharata, he says essence of Mahabharata is Srimad Bhagavatam. Means ultimately, you have to come to the point of Srimad Bhagavatam, where you worship the Lord with unalloyed motivation. So, and that's why it is that type of which is and even if you'll not get any much taste once you start reading Bhagavatam, and if you read other Puranas, there are so many stories, but you'll not get much taste in it. That is the and also the stories are also the way it is presented is different. We discussed about Vitrasar's story. I know how Srimad Bhagavatam is glorified in Matsya Purana or Skanda Purana is a book where Gayatri Mantra is described in the beginning, and there is a story of Vritrasur. Even the Vritrasur story is there in many Puranas, but it's described in a different way. That is the point. Not that the stories are not there. Other Puranas are also it is there, but that is in a different way. The hero in other Puranas, in Vritrasur story is in Indra, but in Bhagavatam, the hero is Vritrasur in this story because he is showing the pure devotional symptoms. Indra is a mixed devotee. That's why Bhagavatam rejects. According to Bhagavatam, mixed devotee cannot claim himself as a devotee only. Daksha, when he is doing Hamsagusha prayers, Lord appeared, but he is a mixed devotee. Bhagavatam says he is not devotee only. Devotee means pure devotee. So that's why it is Amala Puran. The proper method for receiving this transcendental message is to hear submissively. So now the criteria is proper setting. First is you surrender to Supreme Lord. Second is still should hear. Of course, now in this shloka the criteria is you should be non. Challenging attitude towards attitude cannot help one realize this transcendental message. One particular word is used herein for proper guidance. The word is Shushusha. Shushushu. One must be anxious to hear this transcendental message. A desire to sincerely hear is the first qualification. Now, at least once we should have a desire to know full Bhagavatam thoroughly. And for outside people will tell at least you should know what is there in Bhagavad Gita once in your life. So that's how we distribute books. When it comes to devotees, we should know, okay, at least once I should know whole Bhagavatam, first to last. What all things that are told, what all pastimes, and what all messages from the pastimes. So one time we go full Bhagavatam, first to last, cover to cover. That desire we should have. Then it becomes easy for us to complete Bhagavatam. So what all things are there, and that eagerness should be there. That is what is the one must be anxious to hear this transcendental message. And then when we stop hearing material news, when we stop hearing about faults of others, shortcomings of others, then it becomes very easy to hear Bhagavatam. And another important thing is when we stop hearing our own glories, then it is easy to hear the glories of the Lord. So that is the reason we will not be able to hear about Bhagavatam. That we there are three things like uh, hearing our own glories. Somebody tells good, we want to hear how great I am, or we tell about how great I am. Second is hearing the faults of others, shortcomings of others, and material mundane news. When we keep distance from this, then when we sit in front of Bhagavatam, it becomes easy. You will not get distracted. And less fortunate persons are not at all interested in hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. The process is simple, but the application is difficult. Unfortunately, people find enough time to hear ideal social and political conversation, but when invited to attend meeting of devotees to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they suddenly become reluctant, or they indulge in hearing portions of Bhagavatam they are unfit to hear. Sometimes professional readers of Bhagavatam immediately plunge into the confidential topics of the pastimes of Supreme Lord, which are interpreted as sex literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be heard from the beginning. Those who are fit to assimilate this work are mentioned in the sloka. One becomes qualified to hear Srimad Bhagavatam after many pious deeds. The intelligent persons with thoughtful discretion can be assured by the great sage Vyasdeva that he can realize the Supreme Personality directly by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Without undergoing the different stages of realization set forth in the Vedas, one can be lifted immediately the portions of Paramahamsa simply by agreeing to receive this message. So we have discussed yesterday how there are different degrees of realization of absolute truth. One is Samshaya, then there is Nastika, uh, then there is impersonal understanding, then there is Kliba, then there is Purusha without energies, Purusha with energies, then there is Mithuna, then there is Parakiya. So there are different stages of understanding absolute truth, and Bhagavatam clarifies all the things and brings a person to the highest understanding of the absolute truth, which is the Paramahamsa stage. So that's why we need to go or systematically, because what happens is our conceptions of the truth will be clarified and we can understand the highest truth properly. That's why we should not directly jump to confidential topics. That's our proposition, because we will not understand, because we already have concept. Like now, Varahadev and Hiranyaksha, the past time. So Hiranyaksha is greed, selfishness, and Varahadev represents sacrifices. So now when we go through the past time, we understand, no, greedy, selfishness is not what is needed. I need to sacrifice. So Varahadev represents sacrifices. So that's why that conception, that mentality is gone slowly. And same thing, Hiranyakashipu, pride, and then impersonal understanding. So that conceptions, certainly we have these things, and another important thing is the doubts. So these things are also very nicely clarified. Uh, yes, bro. Yeah, I'll share that different aspects of. So this is also clarified when we are having these misconceptions, then we will not, and all the doubts will be clarified. Basically, the misconceptions are the doubts. Unless the doubts are clarified, we'll not able to, with that full confidence, will not be able to practice, and with that faith, will not be able to chant. And then trust also is developed. Not only faith, we go to next level of trust. For that, we need to clarify all our doubts, and Bhagavatam helps us to clarify the doubts so that we develop that complete faith on the supreme absolute truth, Krishna, and we will be clear with that. Yes, this is what I need, and this is what we should do. So that becomes clear. So basically, if we see Bhagavatam is all question answers only. Why questions? They are the doubts. And you clarify, you go to the next stage. Clarify, go to the next stage. Like that, you ultimately reach to the stage of Parakiya, where Krishna in Vrindavan. So that's how the progress is. And it is nothing to do with fun and sex that actually we discussed in the previous shlokas, last pair also, and Prabhupada is also telling. So Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be heard from the beginning. So this is very important. Even though this is an exercise we should do from the beginning. So faith is the initial stage. We know that this person is right, this person is good. And the trust means we know that whatever he's telling, I can completely do it. So that faith is faith, then we develop a relationship, we can start trusting that person. So like initially when we uh, uh, first is Shraddha, then there is Vishwas, and then is Shraddha. So we can trust Krishna that whatever he is doing to me is good only. Even it is bad thing happening to me, some which I don't want in my life, still I know I have trust on Krishna. He is doing it for my good only. So, like Kunti Maharani is telling, Vipada Santata Santasasha, give me troubles. Because she has complete faith and trust in Krishna. So whatever he does for me, I don't have problem. I know it is correct. Faith is okay, is good. I will get something from him and he will take care of me. But trust is something more deeper. When bad comes also, we say, no, it is good only for me. Because I know what he is doing is good for me. It's like that. It's a little more. So we have successfully completed 2 shlokas. Of course, we are going little fast because only first three shlokas, because Prabhupada is going to take array elaborately. But after that, we have to, of course, many of you will be having so many realizations on this point, and I'm just trying to have some discussions. And some purports and all, they are very big. And whereas Vishnu Chakravarti does not have any purports only. So to catch with the pace, we will be going little very short discussions we'll be having. Unless it is very pressing, we'll not take much. So we'll go for the third shlokas. Yeah, the difference between Mithuna and understanding absolute Mithuna is a Lord in a formal relationship, Lakshmi and Narayana, whereas Parakya is informal relationship. In Vrindavan, all the relationship Krishna has are informal, whereas in the Dwaraka, Mathura, or in Vaikuntha, Lord has a formal relationship. He has marriage, he has children, and all. Whereas if we go to Vrindavan, it's all Parakya. Krishna is not son of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, and they always hear the rumor. He is son of Devaki and Vasudeva. And then Krishna, his friends, they're all Vaishyas, but Krishna is a Kshatriya according to birth because it's Devaki and Vasudeva. So because of that, friendship is between equals, Vaishya and Vaishya, and Kshatriya and Kshatriya. But here Kshatriya and Vaishya. So then it's a Parakya, it's not direct. And when it comes to gopis, it's all nobody is married to Krishna. So all the relationship, and that gives much more rasa in the feelings, and there is in the past tense and all. So that's why Krishna is very different in Vrindavan compared to Vaikuntha. Yeah, Swakya, Mithuna is Swakya, and this is Parakya, like that. So Vaikuntha. So this is that understand. Till 8th, 9th canto, you understand. Okay, Krishna as Swakya. And 10th canto, it is completely Parakya relationship. Nobody accepts Krishna as Supreme Lord. Even if they know his Supreme Lord, does not matter for them. Because the relationship is different there. Yeah. So we'll go for the third shlokas. This is a very important shloka. First three are very important. We should thoroughly understand them. And the shloka with the word-to-word translation and all, we'll be having discussion tomorrow with these 2 shlokas so that you can memorize them. We'll be having, and again, a discussion on second and third shlokas where we'll be taking word to word and trying to understand and memorize the shloka. Today I'll not take. Today we'll just go with the purport, and tomorrow we'll have one final session for first, second, third, and then we will go for the storyline, first candle. So this sloka, Nigama kalpatarorgalitam phalam sukhamukadamritadrava samyutam vibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muraho rasika bhumi bhavuka. So I'll not take word to word. We'll be having discussion on how to memorize it for tomorrow's session. For expert or thoughtful men, Release Srimad Bhagavatam, mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Srila Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. So, this liberated souls is Sukadeva Goswami for Kumaras and all. The examples will be given. Now, Prabhupada is writing, in the two previous shlokas, it has been definitely proved that Srimad Bhagavatam is a sublime literature which surpasses all other Vedic scriptures due to its transcendental qualities. It is transcendental to all mundane activities and mundane knowledge. In this shloka, it is stated that Srimad Bhagavatam is not only a superior literature, but it is the ripened fruit of all Vedic literatures. In other words, it is the cream of all Vedic knowledge. Considering all this, uh, patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. With great respect and attention, one should receive the message and lessons imparted by the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, I will try to increase the size of the font. Yeah, so maybe you can see this. So the two previous slokas, it is glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam, how it is first is actually defining the absolute truth, and second, it is telling how this literature is the superior of all other literatures, and Vyasdev has compiled in his maturity. After writing everything, then he wrote Bhagavatam, so that people know that he knows all the thing also. Otherwise, people will say he don't know this. Oh, you can zoom the text even in mobile also, so you can try that. So now this sloka, it is actually ripened fruit, and that is very important understanding. That means we don't need any other literature. We just have Bhagavatam in life and just read again and again. We'll go back, come back to God. That's all. So it's a cream of all Vedic knowledge. And considering all this, we need to be very patient and submissively hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is a very nice point. And we should also know that the language of Bhagavatam is not, there are different vrittis. Vrittis, basically, it actually means that we'll be having different ways. Actually, even though it is Prabhupada is actually one important point I forgot in the last point, last thing. Prabhupada is telling, even though this is very, the process is simple, but the application is difficult. This is a very important point, because we need an submissive hearing. That's why it is not so easy. Even though process is easy, but application is not easy. So maybe we can have some discussion on it later. But uh, maybe tomorrow I will just give some points on it. But here I wanted to share something why it is difficult according to our acharyas. How it is there is so much language. The problem with the language also, and there are different languages in Bhagavatam. That's why it is very difficult. So there is the language called Vyangyana Vritti, there is Abhidha Vritti. So all these things there are, that makes it more difficult. And this is given by our acharyas. They are trying to help us and explain. And there is also reading of Bhagavatam different gunas also. This Tamoguna reading. This is explained in Skanda Purana. Skanda Purana says there are three ways of reading Bhagavatam: in Tamoguna, and Rajoguna, and Sattoguna, and is transcendental. And Tamoguna is you are reading Bhagavatam for years and years and years, and it goes for years. And sometimes we have one shloka we are reading, but we don't know what is the context, what is happening. It happens in our temple Bhagavatam classes. Also, one shloka we are reading, but after 5 6 years we are in that shloka. We have forgotten everything from here, first canto, second canto. We are in eighth canto, like that, and there is not understanding how everything is developed, especially the plot is not understood. So this is Tamoguna. And there is Rajoguna reading. It is like Bhagavad Saptah. In 7 days they completely complete Bhagavad. And but it is not understood also properly. And then yeah, we'll discuss. And then this is, of course, Maharaj Parikshit studied Bhagavad in 7 days, but it does not fall under that category because he's completely on a different platform. And then it's Sartvaguna reading. It is reading Bhagavatam for several months. Within few months, they will complete, understand the whole structure first of all. And such reading of Bhagavatam is considered in Sattva. And then understanding Srimad Bhagavatam in Transcendent, it is it's not reading for too long, because if you read for too long we'll lose the storyline. And we are trying to understand the storyline with proper purpose, and going not very fast, also not very slow, but in a proper way. Yes, bro. So we have some questions in the chat box. I'll just address them. First is, one become qualified to hear Srimad Bhagavatam many pious deeds. What is this material pious? This pious deeds, basically it is Ajnat Sukruti. And of course, even people, pious people also they read, but if they don't have Sukruti, they may not understand it properly. We need to have devotional credits also to understand and to develop faith in Bhagavatam. And because many outside people they come and attend Bhagavad Saptas and all, but they hardly get any benefit, because we have to hear from the right source. Then Bhagavatam itself is sufficient. Parikshit Maharaj just heard Bhagavatam and back to God it. Of course, he has his preparation was very good, because Parikshit Maharaj from the birth only he is completely absorbed. See, the Bhagavatam, the first canto is telling. Yes, bro, I'll explain about with this. I'll come to that point. Bhagavatam, Parikshit, the three important qualifications, three important topics of first canto I was telling. First is about the birth of Bhagavatam, then second is uh, about Parikshit Maharaj, and third is about Kali Yuga. And then first canto is telling, it is more putting emphasis on the hearer, not the speaker. That's why we have from 7th chapter to 19th chapter stories of Parikshit only. What should be the qualification of hearer only? And what is the main qualification of hearer? Is detachment. Parikshit Maharaj is completely detached. If you see three pairs of hearers in first canto. First pair is Suta Goswami and Shesha of Naimisharanya. Second pair is Narada and Vyasadeva. And third pair is Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Now, these three pairs, if you see Suta Goswami, Shaunaka Rishis, there are some mixed devotees, some yogis and gyanis also in the audience. So, then there is a transmission of this knowledge. And then there is a transmission of knowledge. This is the one level which matches with us. There's some mixture here and there. And that is Suta Goswami and Suta Goswami and Sage of Naimisharanya. The next level of detached people are Narada Muni and Vyasa Maharshi. They are of very high category. And then the highest category, who are in a Paramahamsa stage, are Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami. For Sukadev Goswami to speak Bhagavatam, there should be audience like Parikshit Maharaj. Otherwise, he will not speak. They should be of the same level. There are the three categories like that. So here, so these are three speakers, three actually sets of a speaker and audience in first canto. But the highest is Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Now, Parikshit Maharaj qualifications are given so much in first canto, make us understand this is what is needed for us to understand Bhagavatam. So, so now we have just few questions in general. So I'll just complete them. So I think uh, Mohan Pro, it is clear, Pro. You are clear with the answer. So then we have Srimad Bhagavatam is ripened fruit by reading regularly. One can go back home. Yeah, yeah. This is Parikshit Maharaj went for us regularly hearing, because what happens, na? I was telling, na, our misunderstanding goes away. Our conception. See, how we look at the world is based on how our understanding of absolute truth. If our understanding of absolute truth is very clear, we come to the level of understanding Krishna, then our way of looking at the things is world is clear. And then that's how we will, and then our level of consciousness increase, and then we'll reach to the highest level of consciousness, that is the spiritual world. So we can reach spiritual world. Basically, when our doubts are clarified, our practice becomes very intense. Otherwise, we'll not be able to practice intensely, because we have that samshaya. The doubts actually holds us from practicing. So three things: refrain from hearing our glories, free from fault finding, and we should not hear mundane news. Then we can hear Bhagavatam easily. Another question is, uh, you told process is simple, but application is how to overcome and make it easy. Uh, the process, submissive hearing, submission and humility, they're actually what will help us to overcome. But tomorrow I will just mention for a few more things. I wanted to give it more clarity on that, but I will try to explain these points about vritti, and then tomorrow I'll explain that point. Yeah, a lot of emphasis on the hearer than the speaker. Of course, speaker is a hearer because he heard, that's why he's a speaker now. So that's why qualification is on the hearer, because we are all want to hear Bhagavatam. So first canto is preparing us how to hear, and then it will take us. So when we properly understand first canto, we'll understand what all things I need to hear properly Bhagavatam. And when we say surrender, you see, first canto is full of surrender only, one after another, one after another. All the stories are of surrender only. I was telling, no, Prabhupada is mentioning. So first you need to surrender. If you see from the question and answers is, you are submitting to somebody, and then Vyasdev surrenders to Nardumni, and Nardumni says, okay, now you start writing Bhagavatam, and that is good for you. And then from seventh chapter onwards, after Vyasdev Nard's conversation, seventh chapter onwards, first Arjuna surrenders to Krishna and says, Krishna, no, this Brahmastra is coming. What should I do? Krishna is okay. Release another Brahmastra. Then Uttara comes. Brahmastra is attacking my womb. Please protect. Then after that, Kunti Maharani surrenders in 8th chapter. And Bhishmadev surrenders in the 9th chapter. And 10th, 11th is the surrender and devotion of the queens of Dwaraka and the women of Hastinapur. And then after that, we have Dhritarashtra, of course, he does not surrender. But in that, after that, Yudhishthir Maharaj and Pandavas, they surrender. And then Parikshit Maharaj surrender. So everybody surrenders to Krishna. So this is explaining how we need to surrender to Krishna to understand Bhagavatam. That's how. And then, so this is the qualifications that are nicely given. So we need to very thoroughly understand the qualifications to move ahead in our. Uh, so so this is what is very important. So just I will few words I'll just share on the vrittis, then we'll go further. Because this is very important for us to understand that Bhagavatam is not something very simple. we can just read. Now we need to put quite an effort to understand. And also one more important thing is about other literatures. So that we were discussing this, that this is actually Srimad Bhagavatam is sadhana. Sadhana means we have to do it again and again and again. So that's why it is sadhana. And then we'll be able to understand this Supreme Lord, because this is directly Grantha Avatar. This is Lord only manifesting. According to Padma Purana, we are seeing now how different parts of the different cantos are different parts of the Lord. So first two cantos are lotus feet, and third and fourth cantos are very important. They are the legs, because on the legs you stand. So they refute our subtle and gross anarthas, third and fourth canto. Then comes the fifth canto, and sixth canto is the chest where the heart is there. We were discussing it refutes, it makes us free from mixed devotion and pure devotion. Then eighth, ninth cantos, and we have the 10th canto with the smiling face like that. So this is actually Grantha, this Matsya, there is so many avatars, so this is like that. And then we were discussing how different sampradayas have different sadhanas to understand the absolute truth. For us, we are doing, and Balaram Shikar also shared. In Sri Sampradaya, they have Divya Prabandhas and Ramayana as their study to understand what is absolute truth. And Madhva Sampradaya, they do Mahabharata to understand what is absolute truth, like that. And we have Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, even Pushtimarga, they also have Srimad Bhagavatam, but they have little, uh, there is some difference in their approach to Srimad Bhagavatam, like that. But otherwise, this is a sadhana to understand what is the truth. So, and Srimad Bhagavatam is a process of gaining revelation, gaining the mercy of the Lord. So by reading, we gain the mercy of, and then there is, I'll just read one, I'll come to that after this one para, then we'll go, because we have to complete our purpose. The Vedas are compared to desire tree because they contain all things knowable by man. They deal with mundane necessities as well as spiritual realization. The Vedas contain regulative principles of knowledge covering social, political, religious, economic, military, medicinal, chemical, physical, and metaphysical subject matters, and all that may be necessary to keep the body and soul together. Above and beyond all this are specific directions for spiritual realization. Regulated knowledge involves a gradual raising of living entity to the spiritual platform, and the highest spiritual realization is knowledge that the personality of God is reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasa. After finishing this, I'll tell about Vritti, but this is a very important point here, what Prabhupada is telling. Vedas contain regulative principles of this. In all, these are the branches of Vedas. Ultimately, what uh, what all these subjects bring, they ultimately direct to spiritual realization only. I'll give an example. In Ayurveda, there are 4 different levels. If any Ayurveda, first thing is they will, first purpose of Ayurveda is to cure the disease. It is only the first level, it's not complete. If modern medicine you take, the only purpose is to cure the disease. That's all. Ayurveda is not like that. First is you have to cure the disease, and then you will tell him what are the things you should do, you should avoid, so that this disease will not come again. You should not get this disease. Say you are getting cold, cough, or some other thing. They will not only give the medicine, they also give the patya. They say these are the rules you should follow so that you will not get. This is the second aim of Ayurveda. And the third aim of Ayurveda is to give a lifestyle. How not to get that, not to become sick. That is the third aim. Overall, not sick. You should have a lifestyle. Previous ages, if an Ayurvedic doctor used to go to village and he goes to some house, if in the house nobody is sick, then they have to pay to the doctor. If anybody is sick in the house, then there is no payment. So the responsibility of the doctor is to make sure that nobody is sick and then he gets his payment. Now it is ulta. More people are sick, more the doctors are happy. No, the previous Vedic culture is not like that. The culture is, if nobody is sick, they pay to the doctor. Because so he gives a lifestyle so that nobody becomes sick. But then fourth important goal is told that see, all the problems are because we are having this material conditioning. We are spirit soul. Ultimately, we need to gain spiritual realization. So this is the fourth theme of Ayurveda. Same thing with even psychology, economy, or all these things. Vedas, they directly, slowly, they lead to the spiritual realization. All the subjects are like that only. If you take psychology or anything, it will ultimately tell the highest goal. So that's why, by knowing the overall picture, then you will know, okay, what is the purpose of it. Now modern science is how you break the things, break and go more and more. You are expert in the eye or in the ear, maybe left ear only. You are super specialty doctor of left ear, not right ear also. So you break and take it more micro. But Vedas, they give a overview and they can guide in a proper way. So that's the important point here. They directly lead to our different places. So, and of course, then we have uh, this. Actually, I think maybe Prabhuji will also touch on this, but I'll also just take so that it will be a revision for you. Just after this understanding of Bhagavatam, there is any questions anybody has? We have just few minutes. Yes, Gail Mataji. We have 5 minutes. I'll take questions.
Oh, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, I even forgot. Yeah. Just one thing from previous discussion is about greed.
Yes,
You know, when we see people who are in the mode of goodness, it doesn't seem like, even though they may not be, you know, devotees or aspiring devotees, but it doesn't seem like they are subject or vulnerable to this greed, quality of greed. You know, so I guess my question is, or were you saying earlier that if you're not, if you're not maybe spiritually minded, or yeah, if you're not spiritually minded, are you necessarily vulnerable to having this greed quality?
in mode of goodness, they may not have in a very gross way, but in subtle, it is always there, Mataji. They will not be completely free from this anarthas unless they are maybe in Janaloka, Maharloka. Some people who are at that level of goodness, they may very slightly have, but it is always there until completely somebody is purified. So it is always there. They may have in a very subtle way. They may not have in a very gross way. But it is only for devotees it is possible to completely get purified from all these things. Uh, no other situation it is possible.
Okay. And also, when you were making distinction between faith and trust, so were you trying to say that trust is just a more intensified faith?
Yes, Madhuri. Because we can trust somebody, we can put faith, but to trust is much more deeper. You are having more deeper amount. Whatever he is doing, you will not misunderstand him anytime. You never misunderstand. In trust, you never misunderstand.
You won't misunderstand what their mood.
Their intention in doing anything. That is trust.
Yeah, you won't doubt that
Yeah,
their benevolent attitude towards you.
yeah.
And also, I would assume too that, you know, you, because of that, then you will be more disposed to not only accept the instruction but actually apply it.
Yeah.
Whereas in faith, if you only have faith, then you won't reject it, but you probably might not. So you probably might not so readily apply it.
Yeah.
Okay. Just one last thing. You had earlier brought up karma, jnana, and upasana.
Yeah.
So when we refer to upasana, are we referring to those who worship demigods only to end up later rejecting them because they have this impersonal oneness concept of reality? Is that the upasana kand that we're
Upasana
saying?
Kanda is worship mother. It can be mixed devotion also. What I understood by here, Upasana Kanda is there are many mixed devotees. They may be worshipping Supreme Lord also. But Upasana Kanda is worshipping Supreme because in Varnashrama, all Varnashrama is worshipping Vishnu only. There is no demigod worship in Varnashrama. Varnashrama is worshipping Vishnu only. But their purpose is to enjoy in this material world. That's why it is rejected.
Oh, so in upasana kand, they do want
Worshipping
to,
Vishnu.
yeah, but for the purpose of enjoying
Material
here.
gain. Yeah, materially.
Yeah, your answer to that person who asked the question in the chat, what is their destination of the mixed devotees? What was your answer?
Mixed devotees, Mataji, they continue unless if they want to get liberation or something, they continue to remain. They just want to because they don't want to go out, they want to enjoy. Like Daksha, we are giving example. He's born against Daksha only. He was a devotee. He's born Daksha because he want to continue. He don't want to get liberation also. Indra also. He don't want to give up. He want to continue. So this is how they are. They want to continue to enjoy in this material world.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and as you said, Matuna and Swakiya, those are synonymous terms, right?
Yes.
Because I know somebody named Matuna, so I was trying to make sense out of his name, Matuna.
I don't know. I am not Sanskrit expert. I just know the technical.
Okay, thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
So I'll just mention what are the vrittis in one line so that maybe we'll get time. We'll see. Maybe Prabhuji may also discuss, but I'll just mention. There is called Abhida Vritti, which is direct dictionary meaning. Then there is Lakshana Vritti. It is direct, where the direct meaning does not apply, then this Lakshana meaning comes. Then I think Prabhuji will discuss, but I'll just tell Lakshanavati is when we are Gangayam Gosha. So there is a village on Ganga. So village on Ganga means they're not that there is a village on Ganga. It is on the bank of Ganga. Or people in the village are so pure like Ganges. This is called Lakshanavati. And then there is Vyanyanavati. Vyanyanavati is actually uh, it is this is Vyanyanavritti when we say the people of the village are pure like Ganges. So that is Vyanyanavritti. It implies. So we are implying something. So this is implied meaning. So this comes under Vyanyanavritti. And then there is Yoga Rodavritti. This literary meaning is used in everyday life. That means uh, it is not for it differs from place to place. Like we say Pankaja means something coming from the mud. So many things come from mud, but Pankaja we generally use for lotus. So that is called Yoga Rudavati. When it comes to Bhagavatam, that's why we need to know the uh, this language properly so that we'll be able to understand what Bhagavatam is telling. So, of course, so we'll end here. Maybe we'll continue on this discussion tomorrow. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, Sarita Kamataji, we'll just take one from you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat.
Dandavat.
Prabhuji, If the mixed devotee aspire to go to spiritual planets, then
they can go Mataji. They will go. They will get the Sukaishwara Mukti. They will attain
means
Vaikuntha.
with the mixed devotion only they'll go.
They with mixed devotion also they will go, but they will get
Otherwise, they have to leave the process. If Jnana Mishra Bhakta is there, they have to leave the process of Jnana and then only they can go. Otherwise, with Jnana Mishra Bhakta can go to Vaikuntha planets.
Actually, in this mixture also, Mataji, there is Pradhani Bhukta Bhakta and Guni Bhuta Bhakta are there. There is Pradhani Bhuta Bhakta, means Bhakti is prominent and they have Jnana part. But in Guni Bhuta, their Jnana is with Bhakti. So they get liberation and they attain for liberation. But somebody who has Bhakti as prominent and they have mixture of Jnana and Karma, they will go to Vaikunthas, they will have Sukhaishwar Mukti, means they will see the Lord and they will go to their home and they'll have their own TV with all spiritual movies, pastimes of Lord going on. Means they are in the spiritual world, but they are not pure devotees. They're mixed devotees in spiritual world.
They like Salokya Mukti, Prabhuji.
Salokya, Samitra, Sashti, all these things. They are mixed devotees in the spiritual world.
That means mixed devotees are there in Vaikuntha planets, na?
Yes.
Means Bhakti is from just like Jnana Mishra Bhakta, where Bhakti is more prominent and Jnana. So, then, but in Goloka, it should be pure, Kevala Bhakti.
Yes.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you very much.
Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you very much.